Hi, everyone. I'm Nicholas Tutora. Welcome to Tutora Time. So let's jump right into what's happening. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Congresswoman Greene. The Democrats have voted today, and they even got support from 11 Republicans, sadly, to strip her of her committee duties. So let's face it, folks. If you are one of the voters in Marjorie Greene's district, she won with 75% of the vote, you no longer have a voice in America. They're letting you know it. Make no mistake about it. And that's the way it goes. You're out of luck now. You voted for somebody, they campaigned, people heard her ideas, they could have weighed what she said, evaluated it for themselves, agreed, disagreed, done whatever they want. You might not like what she said, but she has the right to say it, and they have the right to vote for her and be heard and have their voices represented in Congress. But the Democrats are no longer allowing that. They also will attempt probably to throw her out of the House altogether. This will be the first step, or they'll do that with the next person. And it's fascism, folks. It's pure fascism. If you don't understand that it is, I'm sorry. It's not on me. That's on you. How can any American possibly advocate this, silencing political voices? The clowns over at CNN and mainstream media, they believe that they have the corner on the truth. And, they use words like her conspiracy theories, her baseless conspiracy theories. Everything that this person says or anything that they don't like, they just call baseless. There's no evidence. Well, why don't they look for evidence, just like in all the irregularities in the election? I mean, in the election, you had 7 states change their election laws right before the election, which is a disaster for mail-in balloting. But let's listen to some of what CNN said.
And look, we've had a lot of breaking news here, but not too long ago, there was a bit of an extraordinary moment on the House floor, and that was from Republican Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene. The House, of course, is right now taking steps to strip Greene, who has blatantly spread lies and baseless conspiracy theories.
Cancel culture is a real thing. It is very real. And when big tech companies like Twitter, you can scroll through and see where someone may have retweeted porn. This is a problem. This is a terrible, terrible thing. But yet, when I say that I absolutely believe with all my heart that God's creation is He created them male and female, and that should not be denied, when I am censored for saying those type of things, that is wrong.
I mean, we just need to be clear here, Jake. She has peddled these lies and conspiracies both on camera and in writing. And there she seemed to be blaming others.
So as you can see, they just use these terms, baseless conspiracy theories. They hold themselves up as the moral arbiters of everything. And these are the same people who have been pushing Russian collusion for the whole first 3 years of Donald Trump's presidency, and even up to now. There's no evidence of Russian collusion because it never happened. It's a complete conspiracy theory, but they peddle it. They had investigations over it. They still talk about it. And then if you would have blinked, when Trump was impeached the first time, he was impeached because of a call with Ukraine. If you would have blinked, you would have thought that was over the Russian collusion story, because the Russian collusion story wasn't even dead for a few days when they immediately came up with Ukrainian impeachment. And if you remember, that conspiracy theory was that Trump was trying to get the president of Ukraine to start an indictment on Joe Biden to sway our election. None of that ever happened. Trump said, you might want to look into the guy. It's causing a lot of problems here. He's supposed to do that under treaty. If United States money is going to another country, this one was particular with Ukraine. They had their own treaty on top of it that the president has an obligation to make sure the money's going where it's going to go. He was impeached for that. And as it turns out, Hunter Biden is under investigation from the DOJ and the IRS for exactly the transactions that President Trump was making reference to. So their whole thing was a lie. It was a complete conspiracy theory, and it's a total lie. We are in the throes of fascism in America. It doesn't necessarily look like fascism from the 1930s and 1940s, but this is fascism. You have the voices of your political opponents being silenced, and also her constituency. I mean, her constituency has no voice. They're not allowed to vote for somebody like that. The media is hand in glove with them, because fascism is just another form of communism and socialism. It's another form of socialism. And the media is working hand in hand. There's tight government control on private industry, media. There's tight regulation. They're working hand in glove. The government, these big companies are basically becoming the government, like Twitter and Facebook and Amazon, all these huge companies. It was freeing in some ways, but in another way, it also enslaved everybody. But this is pure fascism, silencing the voice of your political opponents and then having the media work in concert with you to get your propaganda out. MSNBC, CNN, they're not news networks. They're state-run propaganda media. All they do is ridicule people. When they talk about multiculturalism and bringing more people into the conversation, I guess, as opposed to traditionally white men who built the country for so many years and, who they say had the chokehold on input into the political conversation. Well, now the conversation has opened up a lot more, and there's good things that come from it, but I also see bad things like pettiness and vindictiveness. I mean, this culture, of political witch hunts after your opponent, these are the cultures of third world countries. Are we importing that? Is that part of the multiculture that we need to import into America? Multicultural corruption. The United States Capitol, the White House, is surrounded with gates, fencing, and razor wire, and soldiers guarding who goes in and out. Clearly, walls work quite well when it's protecting them, but not so well when it's protecting us. They are persecuting a sitting congresswoman for what she read or said 2 years ago, or even if she still believes it. It really doesn't matter. She was elected. And from what she said today on the floor, she read things, she looked at it, she tweeted about it, then she said, maybe that's not so true. I don't even know what QAnon is, all this nonsense, QAnon. They're trying to say QAnon. BLM has been rioting. A BLM supporter murdered a Trump supporter in the streets in Seattle last year. They burned down stores, businesses, looted, rioted. People were injured. A black police officer, David Dorn, who was working, he had retired and he was working as a security guard for extra money. They shot him dead while he was guarding somebody's pawn shop during the rioting. BLM shot a black guy point blank in the head, and that's not violence. There's no outcry over that, but there's outcry over these rioters who stormed the Capitol. Yeah, storming the Capitol was a dumb thing to do. They shouldn't have done it. But to say it's an insurrection, Donald Trump was the president. If he wanted to fight with the powers of the president, he could have used the courts. They wouldn't let him into the court, but he could have used the military. He's the commander-in-chief of the military, but he did not. So the idea that he's using these few people as the insurrectionists is ludicrous. It's stupid. They know it's stupid. And we have to sit there now and listen to this stupidity coming out of the mouths of these people. I don't know about you, but there's an ache in my heart, and there probably is one in yours too, of what we're witnessing happening in America. Whoever possibly thought that something like this could happen in the United States of America? How did this happen? It happened by people being so polite and so nice and wanting to, they're using, the left is weaponizing the fact that people on the right, or all people of good conscience, that most people are people of decency and good conscience, and they're taking advantage of that. They've been silencing people's voices and saying you can't give the opposing point of view because it's either racist or sexist or, as Hillary said, homophobic, transphobic, Islamophobic, everything, Some phobias you should have. There are some things in life you might want to be afraid of. And Iran now saying they're on the verge of getting a nuclear weapon. If you go back and you look at documentaries and stories on Iran from about 2011, before it was in the hipster crowd to give nukes to Iran, there was people talking about how this is the most dangerous thing that could possibly happen. Iran spends their days and they end their prayers on Friday, and it's constant throughout their country since 1979 of chanting death to America. And you have somebody, the president of the United States, Barack Obama, when he was president, and now Joe Biden entering a nuclear deal to give them nuclear technology. And you're taking the word of people who chant death to America that they're not going to use that nuclear power for weaponry. They're about to have it. They're about to have a nuclear weapon. That's traitorous to the country. Giving nuclear technology to Iran, that's being traitorous to the country. Not some woman who, tweeted something online. She was elected, and you have no right to silence the voice of an elected official. And if you're on the side that supports that, you should be ashamed of yourself. Americans who are on the left, who don't agree with Trump, when are you going to stand up for your neighbors? Are you going to let your brother and sister and friends and family be destroyed, have their lives destroyed? What are you waiting for? After the Holocaust in Germany, there were people who let it happen, who were silent, who stood by. You can't have a Holocaust without concentration camp guards. People have to go along with this nonsense while it's happening. When are you going to stand up, people on the left? When are you going to stand up against this nonsense? When are you going to call your Democrat representative and say this woman, Greene, should have her committee post back? It is outrageous what is happening in this country, and nobody seems to care. Nobody seems to care. They don't even seem intelligent enough to know, I'll be perfectly honest with you at this point. People are oblivious to what's going on. They're condemning fascism. They're saying they condemn fascism, but they're silencing people's voice. That's what fascism is. You don't need a charismatic leader to get up there and give a speech for it to be fascist. A lot of, motivational speakers get up and give charismatic speeches. They're not fascists. That is not what fascism is. Fascism is silencing your political opponents, tight government control over our daily lives like masks and lockdowns and where we can go and what source of energy we could use and what we could drive and all this kind of nonsense. And what we have to think. They're telling us what we have to think, what we have to accept, what we have to believe in real. Our ideas are conspiracy theories. Their ideas are fact. They have no facts whatsoever. We're arguing with people. They're devoid of reason. They lie. They just lie, and lie again. That's all they're doing. There were people who cheered on Hitler's rise to power and silencing political voices and silencing political opponents. And I hope you're not one of them, because it's happening in America right now. Wake up, people. Wake up. Well, I'm Nicholas Tutora. I'll talk to you again on Tutora Time.